Good evening. I would like to call the school board meeting for Tuesday, January 21st, 2025 for the Des Moines Public Schools to order. Ms. Rios, could you please take the roll?
Yes. Ms. Alonso?
Here.
Ms. Campos?
Present.
Mr. Dix?
Here.
Ms. Knox?
Here.
Ms. Martorano?
Here.
Dr. Mayberry Mays?
Here.
Ms. Norris?
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you. So the first item of business is approval of the agenda with a friendly amendment to move the committee item from consent to other. May I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda?
Martorano so moved.
Dix, second.
Thank you. The motion has been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion from school board members?
Just make a note that that committee assignment will come up at our next agenda with the appropriate committee assignments.
So we're actually going to discuss it in other, if that's
Okay.
okay. And then, once it's finalized, then we'll put it on consent for next time.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, board members, please cast your vote.
Alonso, yes. Campos, yes.
Thank you. The motion passes 7-0. Next item on our agenda is district recognitions.
Sorry. It's on the other side. It's a double-sided. And then Patrick.
Sorry about that. Quick pivot. The next item on our agenda is public forum. We provide speakers at the forum an opportunity to address board members for up to 3 minutes regarding items that are not on the board agenda and 5 minutes for an agenda item. If anyone wishes to speak during any portion of the business meeting, please email rosa.rios@dmschools.org. The same speaking protocols apply to all individuals who wish to address the board. Speakers will be called individually, and we will ask they state their name and address prior to providing comments. Students and minors do not have to provide this information. Guests of the board are encouraged to speak to matters relating to the program, services, and operations of DMPS. Please remember that Iowa law prohibits us from discussing specific employees or their job performance. We ask all speakers to avoid references to personalities or character attacks, as those types of comments do not contribute to the purpose for which this public forum exists. The use of inappropriate language will not be tolerated, and individuals choosing to do so will be gavelled out of order and asked to excuse themselves from the premises or escorted out by district security. As a reminder to the board and public, the board will not engage in a discussion with public forum speakers, as it is our obligation to discuss only matters posted in the public agenda for the sake of transparency and opportunity afforded to all community stakeholders. Matters requiring attention will receive appropriate staff and/or board follow-up at a time after the meeting. Thanks for your participation. We appreciate your feedback and input. Ms. Rios, do we have any speakers for public forum?
Yes, we do. I'd like to call up Dr. Kate Lechtenberg. You may approach the podium.
Thank you. My name is Kate Lechtenberg, and my address is 2126 47th Street, Des Moines, Iowa. I have been a parent in the DMPS district for 14 years. I'm in my 5th year as a staff member, currently an instructional coach at North High School, and as of today, also teaching one section of junior English. And I have been a teacher educator at the University of Iowa since 2015. As we await the proposal for reimagining education, I urge the board and district leaders to also commit to reimagining teaching and learning at DMPS. Yes, declining enrollment and funds make the facilities committee's work necessary and urgent, but I also believe that the teacher retention and student engagement crises are just as urgently telling us that we must make changes to curriculum, SRG, professional learning, and our teaching and learning relationships. In each of these areas, I'm convinced that we can better cultivate success in both students and staff with a stronger commitment to research and reciprocity. That might mean inviting rather than silencing questions from both diverse sources of educational research and from our own teachers' knowledge and expertise. The 4 areas I wanted to talk about. First, our curriculum. Although priority 1 in the strategic plan is about teaching and learning, it is silent on curriculum. If we want to engage our students and retain our teaching staff, yes, we need to provide teachers with high-quality instructional materials, but we also need to build teachers' capacities to read, critique, and adapt the curriculum to our students and community. We can do better if we welcome questions and diverse perspectives from both teachers and research to create transparent, inclusive, and adaptive curriculum processes that sustain our students' identities. Second, SRG. The strategic plan addresses communication, but it doesn't address how we communicate student learning. As a parent, I've watched my kids struggle to understand and improve their grades. As an instructional coach, I am embarrassed when I have to explain our convoluted system to new staff. And as a researcher, I have serious concerns about how our grading system prioritizes a checklist of isolated learning targets over authentic, meaningful assessments. Our current system is confusing for almost everyone, and we can do better if we welcome questions. Third, professional learning. Both teachers and leaders need research-based professional learning, and we cannot buy that off the shelf. Priority 3 commits to culturally sustaining professional learning, but priority 1 focuses only on GLEAM, a framework based on worthy research, but one that could be better implemented if we include teachers in the process and synthesize a variety of equity-based research approaches. Again, we can do better if we welcome diverse perspectives. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, we need to commit to developing reciprocal relationships between teachers and leaders. Priority 5 addresses collaboration and communication, but it doesn't address the pattern of top-down, one-way communication that I witness regularly. Instead, we need true dialogue that includes our staff's knowledge of promising teaching practices and of our students. I have the utmost respect for every individual teacher and leader working in DMPS, but without a commitment to reimagining these teaching and learning systems, I fear that any efforts to reimagine education will be superficial adjustments to spaces, boundaries, and programs, rather than the culturally sustaining and transformative changes our students and families deserve. Thank you all for your service to DMPS, and please feel free to reach out if you want to dialogue more.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are all the speakers I have.
Thank you, Ms. Rios. The next item on our agenda is now actually the district recognitions. Superintendent Roberts, are there any recognitions for today?
Certainly, Dr. Vice Chair. Good evening, everyone. As we continue to bring forward recognitions at school board meetings, where we celebrate the successes and accomplishments of students and those adults who serve them both in and out of the classroom, I am pleased this evening to share recognitions. Recognitions that is certainly an example that will make not only DMPS fly high, but some of our students. Stay with my flying high theme for a second. You know, since we hold our board meetings here at Central Campus, it is always nice to recognize some of the great work and accomplishments of all of the unique programs that exist here at this school. One of the unique programs at Central Campus is our United States Marine Corps JROTC program. Over the years, the cadets in the program have earned national recognition and honors, most notably for the outstanding air rifle team. But this evening, we are honored to recognize a soon-to-be pilot from amongst the ranks. Madison Elk is a junior here at Central Campus and Roosevelt High School. Shortly before this past winter break, we learned the exciting news that Madison was accepted into the prestigious Flight Academy for JROTC cadets in beautiful Pensacola, Florida. Out of nearly 1,000 applicants, she was only one of 10 selected for this program. As a result, after her training in Florida this summer, many of us, including yours truly, who just had not one of the best experiences with air travel, but I'm encouraged because Madison will be fully certified as a licensed pilot upon completion of the program. While he cannot be here this evening, I know that Gunnery Sergeant Michael Gettler, one of the ROTC instructors here at Central, has nothing but good things to say about Madison's abilities and leadership, as well as what a great honor it is to be selected for this flight training program. But I am pleased that Madison, as well as our Central Campus Director, Tasha Brown, can be here with us this evening. And I'd like to take this opportunity to invite them both to share a few words about being selected to this program. And maybe, you'll hope to see what will happen, want to hear what will happen next after this summer. So please come up to the podium.
Good evening, everyone. Tasha Brown, Director of Central Campus and Career and Tech Ed. Thank you for the opportunity to recognize this amazing young person. I just wanted to let you all know that the ROTC instructors and the relationships that they have with their students is very much built on their future plans. This is definitely a program where these students have the conversations and support of what they want to do next, whether that be military or not. And in this case, obviously, we had an aspiring pilot. And so those teachers were able to help make sure that Madison was able to submit her application and had support for that every step of the way. And I think that this is just an example that shows that when we listen to our students and we put their hopes, dreams, and aspirations first, that they really exceed any expectations that we can hold for them. And I think Miss Madison is a perfect example of that. So congratulations to you. We're very proud of you and can't wait to see what you do next. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, Dr. Roberts, Madam Chairwoman, and members of the board. Thank you for your time. Firstly, I just want to say thank you to my family, my instructors in MCJRTC, and my fellow cadets for all they've done to set me on a path to this opportunity. And thank you for prioritizing programs like ours and allowing them to flourish. For those of you who do not know very much about Marine Corps JRTC, we are a student leadership program. Our structure is framed to imitate certain aspects of the military. However, we are first and foremost a leadership program whose purpose is to help create confident and well-informed civil servants. Most importantly, our instructors let the cadets lead. For me, that first meant mentoring my peers in a small group or squad, then learning communication skills as the company communications officer, and now building executive organizational skills as the company second in command or executive officer for all 133 cadets. While I have not yet been told where I'll be heading this summer, I'm looking forward to the opportunity to earn my private pilot's license, but even more to making connections with the other cadets chosen from across the world. I know you have all recently been talking about the image of a DMPS graduate and what the Diploma Plus program will provide for students, and I cannot think of a better example than our program. Central Campus MCJRTC aims to be truly instrumental in the district's plans for excellence, whether it be through scholarships to help students enroll, connections with recruiters to help them enlist, or our everyday ethos to prepare cadets for employment. The DMPS vision for excellence parallels that of our program. On behalf of the Corps of Cadets, I would like to personally invite Dr. Roberts and the school board members to tour the program here at Central Campus and see just how much we have to offer. Thank you again for the recognition, and I hope to see you all sometime in the near future.
Thank you. Thank you, Madison. Invitation accepted. If you haven't already listened to the latest edition of the podcast that is fastly becoming the best educational podcast in the land, the Become Here Project, I urge you and encourage you to tune in and listen. Dr. Mayberry Mays, that concludes this evening's recognitions.
Thank you, Dr. Roberts. And I'm sad that Madison left. I wanted to remind her that Des Moines will always be home, and we want her to come back after she leaves. So if any of you know Madison personally, please remind her that Des Moines is always welcoming her back. All right, we'll now move on to the consent items. As a reminder to the board and public, the board will not engage in discussion or deliberation with the speaker regarding comments made to agenda items. Discussion and deliberation will remain among board members at the board table with speakers, comments informing the board's discussion, deliberation, and determinations as deemed necessary. Ms. Rios, do we have any speakers for consent?
No speakers.
All right. Mr. Dix, I believe you have the consent motion.
I do. I move the board approve the consent items in accordance with the recommended action for each item on the consent agenda, including bills previously authorized, certified, and approved for payment by the board secretary in the amount of $5,185,714.67, and procurement card transactions in the amount of $505,250.68.
The motion has been moved. Do we have a second?
Martirano, second.
Thank you. Moved by Dix and seconded by Martirano. Is there any unreadiness?
I would just like to note and bring attention to Guardrail 5, which is on track, and congratulate the superintendent and team for that on-track monitoring report. Thank you.
Thank you. Well noted. Any other discussion or questions? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Board members, please cast your votes.
Alonso, yes. Campos, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. The motion is approved, 7-0. Next on the agenda, we have one public hearing. Item E1, public hearing and resolution to continue participation in the Instructional Support Program, also known as ISL. The public hearing will come to order. Is there anyone wishing to speak to this item? Hearing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Superintendent Roberts, would you please introduce the matter?
Certainly, Dr. Mayberry-Mays. I recommend the board hold a public hearing and approve the resolution of intent to reauthorize the district's instructional support levy, ISL, for July 1, 2027 to July 30th, 2032.
May I have a motion and a second to approve this item?
Martirano, so moved.
Dix, second.
Campos, second.
Thank you, Martirano, and thank you, Dix. Is there any discussion or does anyone have any questions? Board members, please cast your vote.
Alonso, yes. Campos, yes.
Thank you. The vote is approved, 7-0. Next, we'll move to our other business. The first item is F1 personnel recommendations, receive, file, and action. Superintendent Roberts, would you please introduce the matter?
Certainly, Dr. Mayberry-Mays. I recommend that the board receive, file, and approve the termination of the contract for reasons stated forth in the superintendent's notice.
May I have a motion and a second to approve the item?
Dix, so moved.
Martirano, second.
The motion has been moved by Dix and seconded by Martirano. Is there any discussion or any questions? Board members, please cast your vote.
Alonso, yes. Campos, yes.
The vote is approved, 7-0. Next item is F2, Annual Comprehensive Financial Report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2024. I'll turn it over to Dr. Roberts.
Thank you, Dr. Mayberry-Mays. I will have our Chief Financial Officer and member of the audit team present us with the report.
Good evening. This is the end of our June 30th, 2024 financial statements. I want to take this opportunity to thank the entire business and finance team. It's a long process. It starts way early, and it goes, I think, way too long. Especially I'd like to recognize our controller, Erica Armstrong, who's sitting over there and hiding. And I'd like to introduce Kevin Smith. He's the audit partner at RSM, and he has got more years of auditing experience of DMPS than what Erica and myself have at DMPS. 15 plus years, I believe. Yeah. So Kevin, if you can please share the deck that you have, that'll be wonderful.
Good evening. I've got a brief presentation to walk through that goes through the results from the fiscal year 2004 audit. We did meet with the audit committee, I believe, on January 10th to discuss the results in more detail. And overall, I'm going to walk through the summary, but happy to answer any questions at the end. We were engaged to perform the audit in accordance with government auditing standards. So the main purpose of our audit is to express an opinion on the financial statements and whether they're in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. So the opinion that you see in the financial statements is an unmodified or a clean opinion. So that is the highest level of assurance that you can receive as a part of an audit. Overall, no significant changes, no new accounting standards adopted this year that had a significant impact on the financial statements. There was one that was mentioned in the slide deck, but overall, no material changes. One of the things we do look at, we list on the slides the significant accounting estimates that are included within the scope of the audit. So these relate to pension and OPEB and some others there. No issues with the results from any of that work. And then some of the things we're required to communicate to you at the end of the audit process. One, we are to report to you any adjustments that we have to make to the financial statements that were provided to us. There was only one audit adjustment that occurred this year, and it's listed there on the slide, $6 million to the general fund, and it was really just a timing difference of when the open enrollment and invoices were recorded. They were just recorded in the incorrect period, but they were adjusted and reflected in the financial statements. There were some uncorrected misstatements that were in aggregate and individually immaterial to the financial statements, but those are reported to you in a separate letter as well. Overall, no difficulties encountered performing the audit. We had access to all the individuals and information that we needed to. No disagreements with managements or other significant issues that we need to report to the board. Another part of our audit is looking at the single audit, which is the federal grant audit, and testing certain programs of the district. There were two programs tested this year, Title I and then some of the COVID funding, which accounted for about 31% of the federal expenditures of the district for fiscal year 2024. There was an unmodified or a clean opinion on each of those programs as well, and no compliance findings were reported. I skipped over the first section there. The government auditing standards require us to communicate to you any significant deficiencies and material weaknesses in internal controls. We don't give you an opinion on internal controls, but we do report those items to you. There were no material weaknesses to report. There was one deficiency that was reported related to that adjustment that I mentioned on the previous slide. When you have an adjustment, we do report that as a deficiency to you. But other than that, no material weaknesses reported for the district. And then the last slide here just shows a history overall of the findings from the district's single audit. The lack of findings causes the district to continue to be a low-risk auditee for single audit purposes, which does benefit you in the amount of work that has to be performed as a result of the audit. So just want to congratulate you all on keeping that record this year without any audit findings from a grant perspective.
Can you just remind me, what was the one item in 2023 that was called out?
It was over the student nutrition program.
Got it, thank you.
Yes. Happy to answer any other questions.
Board members, do you have any questions or discussion?
I would like to share, if the community is not aware, that Mr. Mayberry happens to be the representative from the board on the audit committee, and he was present when the discussions were going through the audit committee. So we do have an audit committee of 5 independent personnel who are CPAs. 3 of them are working in an audit company, and the other 2 are professionals working in the industry.
So I have a couple of questions, if that's okay. First of all, thank you. Thank you to you, Shashank. Thank you to the team, because I know it's a lot of work, so we really appreciate it. There's three issues I'd love to get your thoughts on. One is the solvency ratio. I'm not sure if you heard about our conversation as a board where we had some discussion about our spend down to stay in that 15% range. And I guess two questions of that. One is, it seems as though you're recommending that we stay in that 15% range, which is about 2 months of funding. And I wanted to just confirm that the Iowa Association of School Board metrics, the metrics that we're using are the right ones for the solvency ratio. And if you have any thoughts about our decision to spend 2% potentially to allocate a spending down money, which is about $12 million. Yeah, that's the first question.
So in all fairness, Jackie, this is something which Kevin is hearing for the first time, as far as I know. Kevin, have you heard about that?
No, I don't believe that recommendation is included anywhere from us.
Yeah. So, and we are talking about spending authority. Solvency ratio will not be impacted at all.
So just to be clear, though, the Government Finance Officers Association recommends at least 2 months of expenditures of cash on hand. That is a recommendation that you support.
From the Government Finance Officers.
Okay, and that's one that
Yes.
you
So
encourage us to adhere to.
That's one organization that a lot of governmental entities look
Okay.
to for
Perfect.
best
Thank you.
practices.
So maybe to ask the question differently, with regards to the 12 million, you can frame it as you want, Shashank, but are there any concerns that you would elevate as we head into next year with the idea of potentially spending $12 million?
So let me provide a little bit of a background, Kevin. We are putting you in a spot right now. Sorry about that. Our spending authority right now, estimated for FY25, is 19%. The board, multiple years back, I don't think so anyone was in the board, maybe Kim was, had decided that we need to keep our spending authority at 15%. So one of the recommendations from Dr. Robert and I was that instead of doing budget cuts this year, which we've been doing at a clip of around $14 to $16 million year after year, if we could use 2% of spending authority, so bring it down from 19 to say 17, and not do any budget cuts for FY26. For FY27, it will be evaluated to see whether we can continue using the spending authority or not. And 1% of spending authority is approximately, as Jackie was saying, $6 million. So as long as we are over 15% or 2 months of cash, which is approximately 16%, my recommendation to the board was we should be fine, but I'll leave it up to you to decide.
Well, I would have to defer to Shashank and his recommendation. The only thing to be concerned about is just looking at the rating agencies as well and what they look for. They obviously like the more reserves, the better, but that's coming from their perspective and not management.
Great, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but you can go.
Any other questions from board members?
I do, sorry. The second one is around Title I. So I remember last year we talked about this, and Title I was selected this year to be reviewed, and thank you for calling that out. I'm wondering, Title I seems to trip, in general, right, staff up. It's complicated what you can use it for. And I'm wondering what, if any, review you do on staff and staff training. So separate from the finance department and the finance department's knowledge of how to implement it, I'm just curious about what, if any, protocol is put in place and whether or not that's something that you consider or look at when you're looking at Title I programming or any federal programming for that matter.
Generally, the training of staff is not included within the scope.
Okay.
The Office of Management and Budget from the federal government kind of dictates which requirements we look at. Things like certifications of teachers, things like that are compliance related, we look at, but for the most part don't get into the instruction piece.
Do
and
we
the
have,
training.
just out of curiosity, Shashank, do we have an annual training for people that are responsible for administering or understanding Title I funds?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Yeah,
Great, thank you.
absolutely.
The last one I've just got to ask is about bonding authority. As a board, it's helpful to understand our bonding authority. And if that doesn't fit in your realm, please let me know. I did notice that you had some information about the save revenue bonds on page 13. But if the board were considering a bond at some point in the next couple of years, do you have any concerns that you'd want to elevate or any advice you'd want to share?
There would be a schedule of the bonding authority in the statistical section of the report.
So the other
Back
thing I
on
would
page-
highlight when Jackie is talking about that, she's talking about geo bonds versus revenue bonds.
Okay.
Thank you.
So back on page 124, 125 shows the legal debt margin calculation, which basically would show you the percent of outstanding debt to what you're authorized to issue.
So I think you'd say that 12% is a pretty healthy number, correct?
Correct.
It is.
Correct.
I mean, at our highest just is 34%, and that was in 2015. Okay,
Correct.
great, thank you. Those are my
Absolutely.
questions.
Thank you. All great questions. Any other questions from board members? May I have a motion and a second to approve the item? Thank you, Shashank, and thank you, RSM.
Thank you.
Knox move.
Motion.
Dick, second.
The motion has been moved by Knox and seconded by Dix. Board members, please cast your votes.
Alonso, yes. Campos, yes.
The motion approves 7-0. Thank you. And before moving to item F3, we are actually going to do a slight pivot and bring our committee assignment. I know many of you are here for the Reimagining Education update, and we are getting to it. But first, committee assignments. This is an annual practice where we discuss annual committee assignments as well as ad hoc assignments amongst the board. So I wanted to open it up for discussion.
So first, I'll apologize. This is late, so thanks for your patience with me. Board members, what I'd like you to do for today, and then just follow up with Skylar and I, is first of all, look and confirm that the assignments you're listed at are the assignments that you wish to keep. You'll also notice that there's a few holes, most notably the one that is most timely is Head Start. That is a requirement that we have a board member on that board, and so we're looking for somebody to step into that role. I believe I may have talked to Ms. Campos about it, but I'm not positive. Then also, SOFG and board governance, that is a commitment that we made to ourselves. We have a retreat coming up, and so I'm looking for 3 volunteers who would be willing to keep that work moving forward. And I think those were the highlights. Are there questions on this? Otherwise, I'd love for everybody to look at it, process it, and then follow up with me.
Are these new assignments?
No.
Oh.
Do you think they're new?
Or it fails this year, yes. Okay, great.
I don't think you did. Oh, yeah, that's a typo.
Okay.
It's Jackie Norris, not Jenna Knox.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. No, you have not failed. Sorry, thank you. Yeah, most of these should not be surprises to people. Okay, great, thank you.
So, Madam Chair,
Yes,
quick question about Head Start. So we did have a board representative as part of that committee, and it was communicated that it was not something that needed to be done by a board, but rather a staff member. Has that changed then?
it has changed, and I think I see Kristen work here, but it was an error, that information was an error, and they need a board member to participate. And I'm looking at Kristen, she's nodding her head.
Okay,
Great, thank you for asking.
I will follow up with Ms. Campos
Okay.
about it, and if I would like to be a part of that, if she has interest in another committee. But I'll follow up with her and you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Norris, can you remind us when our retreat is?
Well, that's a good question.
So it'd be this, we'd be responsible
in-
for scheduling it and,
Well, no, we have the dates,
Okay.
remember? So we actually planned ahead. I think it's going to be multi-step. We have Council of Great City Schools contract that has to be discussed. We have a governance manual that has to be discussed, and then we have the retreat. So it's multi-part, and I see this committee as really just catalyzing the conversations, making recommendations, and keeping things moving forward.
Thank you.
Great question.
But
April
currently, we
13th.
have
Oh.
I was just gonna say, we have a hold on our calendar for June 7th as well.
Yeah, I think we have, April 13th is also a held date.
And June 7th.
And June 7th? Okay. I'm glad we have Rosie here. Dr. Mayberry Mays, that's it. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or discussion from other board members? All right, hearing none, this does not require a vote. As Madam Chair mentioned, if you have questions or recommendations, please reach out to one of us. And now on to item F3, Reimagining Education Update, and I will pass this over to Dr. Roberts to introduce the topic.
Thank you, Dr. Mayberry Mays. The Greek proverb which says that a society grows great when men or women plant trees in whose shade they know they shall never sit truly epitomizes the very essence of the Reimagine Education Plan. After almost 2 years in this role as superintendent, it is lucidly clear to me that the Des Moines Public Schools and the larger Des Moines community is committed to and invested in creating and having a world-class system for its current students and the thousands who are not yet enrolled here. Those for whom we ought to plant trees in whose shade we may never sit. On January 14, 2025, exactly 1 week ago, the Des Moines Public Schools unveiled our 5-year strategic plan, a plan titled Cultivating Success. The verb cultivate is often associated with development, improvement, and nurturing. This verb, for those of you who have had an opportunity to peruse our plan, is the recurrent part of speech in each of our 5 pillars. A part of the thinking of our strategic plan committee is that as a public school system, we will cultivate the right soil for a school district that will become fertile ground for a world-class pre-K-12 education system. As we think about our current reality, and that essentially for the past several years, it is a fact that we are not optimizing every possibility for our students, many of whom have tremendous opportunities to do extremely well. We have not optimized improving educational, socio-emotional, and post-secondary outcomes for 30,000 plus students. We are essentially failing many of them. All isn't lost. During the past year, an analysis about this proverbial soil that Des Moines Public Schools have planted its ideals on, with board-established mission and vision, a vision that says that we are going to prepare and inspire every Des Moines Public School student to achieve beyond all imagined possibilities, lead with resiliency to navigate an ever-changing society, and leave a lasting impact on our community and world. We have not yet actualized this vision. To further contextualize the timeliness of this soon-to-be rolled out Reimagining Education Plan, and sticking with our farming analogy, after all, we are in Iowa, one of the tenets of farming is around crop growth optimization. Stay with me. In order for crop growth optimizations to occur, one needs to ensure that the soil has the appropriate amount of tilling and irrigation so that the essential nutrients are distributed evenly throughout the soil. In our terms and words, equity for all. You see, the Reimagine Education Plan has the potential to prepare this proverbial educational soil, and this plan is found and placed firmly within the fourth of 5 pillars of the recently revealed and unveiled strategic plan. As you listen to today's presentation by members of the Reimagine Education Committee led by our Associate Superintendent Matt Smith, and what is essentially our introduction to the entire community, please note that we are thinking about the implementation of this audacious and ambitious plan in several phases. You're going to hear terminology such as functional versus operational capacity. You're going to hear that the plan is focused on improvement around our instructional and operational experiences for students. You will hear and hopefully feel and experience the visionary leadership and investment of almost 100 community members who are committed to futuristic excellence for all of our students. See, we have embarked upon several innovative changes, such as expansion of our Montessori programs to make sure that we are providing each and every student with instructional practices that have had proven outcomes. You're going to hear a little bit about our commitment to our legislative priority, and one that is deeply rooted and ingrained in every single action we take every day to ensure that we have the soil that creates universal full-day preschool for every student and parent who needs it. You're going to hear about our commitment to refine and explore using pilots or grade level configurations, expanding our K-5 or pre-K-5 programs to include 6th grade. You're going to hear a little bit about some of the bold pilots that includes our focus on improving mental health outcomes for students by examining items such as a new cell phone guidance and policy. And you're also going to hear a little bit of our commitment to continuously improve outcomes for teachers and staff and leaders by offering programs for post-secondary and postgraduate success. Ladies and gentlemen, the Des Moines community hopes, dreams, and desires for its most precious resources, its children, will be realized with an unprecedented initiative in our Reimagine Education Plan. Our students and families deserve it. Every student who not only knock on our doors, but the adults who serve them, they too deserve it. For the next 5 years and beyond, we are looking forward to you holding us accountable, but also joining us on this journey to reimagine education in a way that it has never been reimagined anywhere in this state before. Matt Smith.
I had so much to say before you started, Dr. Roberts. I am sitting here just sort of in the moment, just listening and feeling incredibly grateful for the opportunity to be a part of a committee and part of a staff and a community that embraces doing the right thing, that embraces taking the hard step forward when it's not popular, when it typically goes against the grain of what society says we should or should not be doing. And I'm feeling incredibly grateful right now because the work is complex, and our kids deserve, our families deserve, our staff deserve that we get into the complexities that it is and that we offer change. Maybe to get started, to quote Rosa Parks, she said, "There is nothing to fear when what you're doing is the right thing." I'm here to tell you this is the right thing. This is the right thing to do. To do nothing is the greatest fear, because to do nothing continues our trajectory that we're currently on, and it is not serving our children well. It is not serving our children justly. It is not serving them equitably. So we're going to do the right thing, and we're going to do the hard work. and I cannot thank that committee enough. They've been at this for more than 14 months. More than 14 months. Meeting monthly, sometimes bi-weekly. And they've really put in the hours. And we're not done yet. We still have a lot of work to do. And I think I'm going to advance this slide. There it is.
And Matt, before you begin, I just, in addition to being incredibly grateful, and I know you're going to acknowledge the committee and
I am.
talk about the committee, just so everybody's aware and our board colleagues, our job today is to listen. This is a superintendent's committee, and so our job is to listen, to learn both about the concepts, but how you plan to engage the community, and the timeline for the process when things will come back to the board for a decision. I just want to frame that for everybody, especially for our colleagues as well. So really looking forward to it.
Thank you, Chair Norris. So tonight, we're going to discuss the overview of the plan. And the reason for that is for the last 6 months, we have communicated and sort of socialized smaller detailed elements of the plan themselves. And so tonight, in our first series of engagements, we are looking to actually provide an overview so that you can see the cohesiveness of this particular plan and all that it entails. It is a very large plan, to say the least. We will be following up with the details of the plan in the weeks to come, as Dr. Roberts suggested and noted. And so there's really lots of opportunities. This is not a one-and-done conversation. This is the beginning of a series of dialogue with our community, with our staff, and with our students and families. And so during our background tonight, we will discuss what Reimagine Education is, why we're doing this work. We'll talk a little bit about the committee and the strategic plan and its alignment with the strategic plan, the work that's already underway. We're also going to discuss the elements of the plan at a higher level, and we will talk about the changes that are necessary to get this plan off the ground and to move it into a sustainable momentum that we can actually carry forward for the next 8 to 10 years. And then, of course, we'll talk about the next steps. To help with this particular presentation tonight, there are 6 amazing representatives of a committee that is quite large, by the way. This is not a small committee that has been meeting for 14 months. It is quite the large committee, and they are vocal in every aspect of the way, which is super, super appreciative because we've got to put holes in what we're doing if we're going to move and advance this work. I do want to recognize tonight's participants, and I will call them up when it's time for them to actually present some slides, some information. Tonight we have Doug Smith with us, Dr. Robert Lundeen, Kristen Rourke, Kate Mead, Victoria Henderson Weber, and Christopher Ramirez, senior at East High School. So to jump in, if we look at the background and sort of what is Reimagine Education, it really is an opportunity for us to think differently about how we're doing business. As Dr. Roberts stated, we have 30,000 children that every night, if we are not serving them well, we lose sleep over. This is about doing the hard work. This is about changing fundamentally how we are organized and how we are structured so that we can put research-based practices in front of our families, in front of our students, to make sure that they know that we are unwilling to actually compromise their safety, their educational experiences, their social-emotional health and well-being by just staying the course of what we've always done for the last 100 years. This committee has been relentless in pursuing change that is research-based and that will actually put us in position to get the outcomes that all of us desire and that all of us profess to be about, just, equitable outcomes. This is about making Des Moines Public Schools a premier destination of choice. Right now, the choices are vast and they're growing by the day. We need to get in that game. We need to make sure that we are providing the best educational experiences for our students day in, day out, and that begins in their preschool, and that is a journey throughout their graduation moments. That entire trajectory for our kids has to be changed. We have to do better. We have to do more for our students. And it's also about being more efficient in order to focus our resources on our students and our staff. You heard Shashank mention earlier on that we've got a budget crisis. I believe the tune was 14 to 16 million of budget reduction cuts year after year. We have to acknowledge that, and we have to make sure that we are prioritizing our resources and that we are putting them towards our students, the programming, and the staff that is in front of them day to day. So why do we do this? There are so many reasons why. We can talk about the decline in enrollment. We can absolutely talk about the limited funds and the budget restrictions that we have. And we could talk about learning spaces and spaces that on average in our district are 80 years old. We can talk about all of those reasons because they're all legitimate and they're all real. But I am here to tell you today, and I represent this committee, those are not the real reasons that we actually do this work. The real reason we do this work is because we need to become a premier district in the state of Iowa, in the Midwest, that will absolutely not leave any stone unturned when it comes to creating the quality experiences from our students from pre-K through graduation. We cannot allow our students to matriculate through our system without absolutely putting every resource in front of them so that they can thrive and be the people that they were created to be in all spaces and everyday opportunities for our staff. This is the opportunity in front of us. Yes, it's a facilities committee. What is so beautiful about this committee is that while we talk about facilities as cultivating the conditions for high-quality, equitable teaching and learning in their spaces. This is a committee that has actually put students first and centered student experiences and staff and family experiences far above what we talk about when it comes to bricks and mortar. The real reason why we do this work is for our kids, to give them the experiences that they deserve, to give them the experiences that are just, and to call out when our current operating practices and our structures are not delivering on that promise and they're not delivering on that reality. I could not be more proud of the work that this committee has done and the work that we will continue to do. Because again, this is just the beginning. This is the genesis of dialogue, debate, and conversation so that we can galvanize our community around serving 30,000 children with a heart and a mind and a spirit that will not allow any of them to fall through our cracks. That's what this particular committee is committed to do. To introduce our next slide around the committee is Doug Smith, who represents ISEA and has been instrumental in the committee's work. Doug?
Thank you, Matt. Dr. Roberts, school board members. As we introduce the committee, I first want to show you, I don't do anything at half speed. Everything is full speed. So this is currently 14 months of work that as committee members we have and take it serious and look at all reports and data. To answer your question, Madam Chair, if you're on the committee, the Reimagine Committee, would you stand up for me? Thank you for being here. So there is over 85 people that are on this committee, which, that's a great size for a functioning committee, right? There's over 50 active committee members that show up meeting after meeting and really take this work seriously. And as Associate Superintendent Smith reported, it's 14 months into this work. I would talk about how we have really been data-driven on the best approaches as we look at this work, and there's no sacred stone that's unturned. Because especially with all of us and the players that are involved in this, we're going to take it serious and we're going to look at everything. Even as Matt shared, the unpopular things we're going to take a look at because we owe that to our students. And then finally, just for a couple of fun parts, is we visited not only the newest school that's been built in Des Moines, but the second oldest building in the district. And so my question real fast is, what's the second oldest building in the district? Any ideas?
Give us a hint. What grade level band?
Greenwood. And so as we go through this work and we talk about the pillars of this work, I want to promise one thing, because when I started this work 15 years ago, we still had these. So we promised what old is new again, except for open concept classrooms, and there won't be any avocado green kitchens. So we'll put that out there right now, right? So the 4 anchors that we're working on is the immersive multicultural learning experiences. And that's from full immersion programs to supporting the expansion of successful programs. And as Matt shared and what you're gonna hear a lot about tonight, that starts with preschool, period. As we flip the slide, we're going to talk about access to rigorous academics, and that's expanding the opportunities outside of campus and academy, which are great programs, but we want to make sure we have equal access across the district and all corners of the city. We're going to talk about world-class career and technical education, because we're going to cultivate and expand partnerships with community partners to develop the next generation of leaders. And then as we flip around again, which is just that wraparound child development program and supports, we're going to level the playing field for our students and staff. One of the things that Matt and I have talked about forever and ever, because many people don't know, we started within a month of each other in 2010, so we go way back that far. But we have really focused on the classroom experience and have done a great job of leveling the playing field with the classroom experience, but we haven't done everything else. And so really our focus is on the student and staff experience. And so I talk about from all-day preschool to sports training facilities, it's time to focus on the extracurriculars. We've done it so long with classrooms, but now we need to look at the whole approach. And so you're going to hear a little bit about that tonight. And so let's get this party started.
Thanks so much, Doug. So, thank you, Doug. All of those anchors and all of that work that Doug just spoke to is actually representative in our strategic plan. And so it's important that we all are aware and that we get deeply immersed in making sure that this particular reimagined facility plan is absolutely in service to the larger strategic plan. It is not separate, it is not distinct in and of itself, it is actually represented in priority number 4 around cultivating organizational effectiveness. And if you just indulge me just for a second, I want to read the 3 strategic objectives underneath priority number 4. Strategic objective number 1, by 2030, open enrollment out of Des Moines Public Schools will not exceed open enrollment in to Des Moines Public Schools. That has been a data point for years in Des Moines, that the number of students that we lose out of our district is greater than the number of students that we actually receive from other districts. How we serve children, how we put them in positions in facilities and in programs that engage their mind, heart, body, and spirit, again, to be the people that they were created to be, is what keeps them here and is what draws them to us. This work is about changing that. It's about delivering on that so that we get to a point where we are actually taking in more students than we are ever losing. That is going to change the trajectory of our district. Strategic objective number 2, 100% of our resources are equitably allocated and monitored. We've got 72+ facilities in our district. For 100 years that Des Moines Public Schools has been around, population shifts have moved, neighborhoods have cropped up, they've actually gone dormant in many respects, they've moved all over the place. We have to make sure that we are applying the resources at our fingertips because we all know they're limited. We have to apply them and prioritize them in a manner that lifts up our historically resilient and marginalized communities. We have to make sure that we are prioritizing just and equitable disbursement of our resources to make sure that we are lifting everyone up in our system. This plan is meant to do that. It is meant to put us down the road to get that sort of resource allocation front and center to make sure that we are operating with a heart, a mind, and a spirit that puts students first, always. The 3rd strategic objective is by 2030, 100% of key stakeholders will indicate effectiveness with operational supports. 72+ facilities with the average age of 80 years old. We have gorgeous facilities. They are well-maintained, and I'm here to tell you, an 80-year-old facility comes with 80-year-old problems, and it is also not always conducive to 21st century learning and what our spaces should be about for our kids. We have to modernize our spaces. And we've got a lot of work that's already underway. I would like to bring to the podium Robert and Kristen from the community to talk a little bit about what's already happening in Des Moines Public Schools.
Thank you, Matt. Madam Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Roberts. You've heard from Kristen and I before in the past about a lot of issues that we get very passionate about, and we're unapologetic about that. What excites us today is that some of the things that are already underway that we've shared with all of you before are fundamental parts of the reimagining education model. That the excitement that we're seeing in some key initiatives that you all have shared your passion about with us are key components of what's going to make reimagining education a game changer in this district and indeed across the state of Iowa.
Obviously, the preschool focus is one of my favorite parts of this entire plan. And my team can attest to this. One of my mantras is, it is our duty, no matter the child's income, ability, or zip code, they are entitled to equitable access to preschool, and it's our job to ensure that. I'm really excited that in the last year and a half, we have expanded access to 8 locations throughout the district, in addition to our 4 centers and the 4 locations we already had in elementary buildings. And two of those classrooms in one location is at Pleasant Hill, where we've extended our Montessori offering. So I'm really excited to continue this focus and serve more students in our classrooms.
In addition to the expansion of pre-K, we've looked carefully in conjunction with the work that's gone on in the Reimagining Education Committee about how we do 2 things. One, lessen the disruption of transitions that occur when students go from school to school and grade to grade. And 2, look at our own data when it comes to how we can keep students within Des Moines Public Schools and where we lose them between the 5th and 6th grade year. And so, in conjunction with deep discussion that's gone on in this committee about how we can not only retain those students but serve them in an even better way, we are piloting an expansion project where, as we did with Findlay Elementary, this school, we'll be adding 4 new schools this next year in which 6th grade will be occurring in the elementary school setting. Those are at Greenwood, Hillis, Edmonds, and South Union. We're excited to see that come to fruition because we know that can be the roadmap for utilizing the elementary school setting to set up kids for an outstanding 6th grade experience and then on to secondary education as envisioned in Reimagining Education. Next, we talk about the expansion of access to Montessori programs. And as Dr. Roberts rightly pointed out, Montessori education is a transformative educational opportunity. According to the American Montessori Society, Montessori education is a child-focused approach that fosters rigorous, self-motivated growth for children and adolescents in all areas of their development: cognitive, emotional, social, and physical. We have been passionate, as we've seen at Pleasant Hill and at Findlay, about expanding the Montessori model. And we've got much news to come in the coming weeks for you about how we're going to be continuing to do that coming up. But this works hand in hand with what's been envisioned within the Reimagining Committee and in their work. And we see those 2 priorities working so closely together. And finally, you knew it wouldn't be a presentation with me if I didn't mention Diploma Plus. And what a great cue up for that to have Madison be here with us tonight, who took the concept of what we're trying to do with Diploma Plus, of taking formative academic and extracurricular experiences, queuing them up for an outstanding graduation experience and success beyond that. The Reimagining Education Committee has not only discussed the possibilities of Diploma Plus within our schools, but we see it as an ideal platform for expanding it even beyond the scope of what we've shared with you in our previous reports. We look forward to being able to look at the future landscape of Des Moines Public Schools and see opportunities where we can incubate the activities and extracurricular opportunities and academic experiences that will set our kids up for graduation, where they can enroll, employ, or enlist with confidence and with success along the way. We'll be sharing more with you about Diploma Plus next month at our upcoming meeting. But in all of these initiatives, we can say without a shadow of a doubt, these are what Reimagining Education are just some of the examples of what it can mean for our students, our families, our educators, and our community.
Thank you. It's important to note, we highlight the work that's underway because it's the right work. We believe in it deeply. There's research to support it. And so why wait, right? Why wait? Why make our kids and our staff and our families wait on doing the right things that are going to put them in position to be their best selves each and every day? We're committed to making sure that we get this right and we move this forward and we advance this work. When we talk a little bit about the elements of the plan, we're going to talk a little bit about full-day preschool. We're going to talk about middle school experience and redesign, interest-based signature schools, experiences to prepare students for futures after graduation, and high-quality programs for both extracurricular and athletic activities. It's important that I reiterate the elements of the plan are large. 14 months of work is about producing a comprehensive reimagined facility plan, again, to deliver on the objectives and the key results in our strategic plan. Every bit about this plan should suggest, and you should take away, is that this committee actually will not rest until we make comprehensive, substantial changes in our district to better serve our students, to better serve our staff, to create opportunities for staff, not only students to be the people they were created to be, but to let our staff to be the people that they were created to be, to put them in position so that they are teaching to their passion, and they are teaching because they love it and because they love our kids. There is so much rhetoric around education in the world, in the state of Iowa. It's hard to combat sometimes. I'm going to say it one more time. The courage of our superintendent and that of this board to take bold, necessary steps to position our children and our staff to be the people that they were created to be day in, day out. That's what this is about. That's what this is about doing. To talk a little bit about increasing access to full-day preschool, I'm going to bring to the podium Kate Mead, one of our amazing ALP consultants in Des Moines Public Schools.
Good evening. I'm honored to be here tonight. As a parent, an employee, and alum of Des Moines Public Schools, I believe deeply in doing what's right for all of our students. One of the initiatives that I'm the most excited about with our work on reimagining education is increasing access to full-day preschool and childcare. Access to full-day preschool is a proven path to greater success in future learning. Reimagining education prioritizes full-day preschool with a model where every student in the district has access to these essential services, creating a solid foundation for the cognitive, social, and emotional development of each student. Reimagining education would increase access and, most importantly, reduce transportation barriers by providing pre-K services close to each Des Moines family at multiple pre-K centers and at selected elementary schools throughout the district. And you've heard how we've already started some of that work. In addition to this high-quality early childhood education, Des Moines Public Schools would work with community partners to increase access to childcare options for working families throughout the district.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. To talk a little bit about redesigning the middle school experience, please welcome Victoria Weber Henderson. Henderson Weber.
I've been called worse things. All right. Good evening, board. So I am excited to share our vision for reimagining the middle school experience. Our goal is to transform middle schools into vibrant hubs of learning that captivate our students' interests and prepare them for the future. As adults, we all intimately know that the transition from elementary to middle school is pivotal, that for many of us it wasn't an easy one. And we know that it's not just a change between buildings, that it really is about a new chapter for personal and academic growth. To support our students more effectively during this critical phase, we are proposing a new grade configuration. This involves moving the 6th grade back to the elementary level. This adjustment aims to ease the emotional and social challenges of transitioning, which we know that parents are currently attempting to do on their own, as is reflected in our retention data showing our most significant loss between the 5th and 6th grades. Our reimagined middle schools will then emphasize hands-on exploration by integrating career and technical education with interest-based learning. By doing so, we enable our students to discover and cultivate their passions early on. This approach is not only engaging, but also aligns with higher student achievement, increase in stakeholder involvement, and ultimately sets a solid foundation for lifelong success. Moreover, we envision that middle schools organize into teams or small learning communities, a structure that will foster an environment that supports not only academic, but also social and emotional health for our students. In conclusion, by building more engaging learning spaces and adapting our educational approach, we will make middle schools a place where students are not only educated, but inspired for their future.
Thank you, Victoria. Another major element of the reimagining education facility work is developing interest-based signature schools. To speak a little bit to this slide is going to be our amazing Christopher Ramirez from East High School.
Thank you.
Who has once again completely outdressed me in public.
Yes. Members of the board, Superintendent Roberts, Mr. Matt Smith. Hello, my name is Christopher Ramirez Chavez, Senior Class President at Des Moines East High School. And today I'm excited to discuss developing interest-based signature schools as part of our Reimagining Education initiative. These innovative programs will offer families the choice of schools that will immerse students in specific topics, enhancing their engagement in learning. Expanding and enhancing signature programming embodies a student-centric approach to advancing equitable access to interest-based learning. While we're still determining the specific themes for these schools in Des Moines, other school districts have successfully implemented signature schools focusing on areas such as health, science, arts, communications, and STEM. We will actively seek feedback from students, family, staff, and community members to ensure that the themes reflect our community's interests. Signature schools are about dreaming big and providing options for students and families to engage a curriculum, instructions, and experiences uniquely tied to their passions. Additionally, these schools open pathways for staffs to immerse themselves in curriculum and instructions that align with their professional interests. An existing model of this within DMPS is Cal's Montanary School, sorry for the mispronunciation there, which showcases the potential of signature schools within our district. To make these exciting educational opportunities accessible, we plan to repurpose existing buildings and construct new learning spaces throughout the district. This strategy ensures while families can choose from a variety of signature schools, all options will be conveniently located within their geographical regions, close to their homes. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Christopher. And to address the next two slides about the elements, preparing students for successful futures after graduation, Doug Smith.
So as we talk about the pathways and how that is critical to our work through Reimagine, we talk about the Diploma Plus options, and I get paid 50 cents every time I say that by Dr. Lundeen, so thank you, sir. But you talk about Diploma Plus and the work that that would do for our students. I often think about it in my role, if Diploma Plus was at East High School or at Callanan Middle School when I was there, would I be where I'm at right now? And so I would challenge all of us in this room that if Diploma Plus was an option for us, where would that have taken you in life? And so could it be with the career pathways and with Diploma Plus, you could be a future educator on a path, you could be a heavy equipment operator on a path, you could be a union carpenter. It's suited to support you in the next stages of your life, of our students. And I think this plan supports the appropriate settings of that. So whether that's how we redesign our early childhood classrooms, to our lab space, to our special instructions, to our Montessori rooms, this work all supports that. And then I think going and talking about the facilities, to address kind of the elephant in the room, I'm scared. This is not easy work. Matt talks about being awake at night. Absolutely. Not only knowing what I know, but representing the thousands of educators, your employees that I represent on a daily basis. We're fully committed to this work because it's not easy. It's eating peas. I don't eat peas. I love Brussels sprouts. I wish it was Brussels sprouts, but we're talking peas and carrots. But I think we're excited and we're determined. And kind of as Christopher outdresses everybody and as the horrible student government president at East that I was, I live my motto for the service of humanity, which is the motto of East High School. And that's our work. Because as I think about it every day when I come to work, when our graduation rate is only 72%, what we're doing is not working. Because that 72% is only if you look like me. But then when you peel that onion back, I'm the oldest of 3 kids raised by a single mom on the East Side. I was a first-generation college student. I was a first-generation grad school student. And that was because of the people at Callanan and East High School that took that time to get to know me and tell me I could do better, to maybe knock off some of the stuff that I was kind of doing with my friends. But it talks about that pathway. And everything we do, our why, is the student and the staff experience. That is 1,000% why we're doing this work. Thank you. Take my binder back.
Yeah, thanks. And so, to make this work a reality, to put forth a realized vision in front of our students, our staff, and our families, it requires that we make changes. It requires that we make courageous decisions to make significant changes in our district. Simon Sinek is quoted as saying, organizations that are to live out a just cause inevitably will need to make an existential flex. And an existential flex is an extreme disruption to the current model so that you could advance a just cause. When you walk in our hallways and you see the faces of 30,000 students that we serve, there is no greater just cause than those students that we serve. There is no greater just cause than the 5,000 employees that cannot work any harder. They absolutely cannot work any harder. To do nothing when we have an opportunity in front of us to galvanize as a district, as a city, as a community, to do nothing is to communicate to our 5,000 employees to just work harder. That will not get us there. They cannot work any harder. They're doing everything that they can within the structures that were built 100 years ago. We have an opportunity in front of us today to begin a series of dialogues around how we can absolutely improve dramatically the experiences of 30,000 children, 5,000 employees, and our families. That's what this particular change is about. That's what reimagining education is about. It is not about turning a blind eye. It's not about turning the other way when we see disruptions or we see inequities or we see injustices or oppressive systems continue. It is about stepping out together courageously to call out what is broken and to galvanize around solutions to atone for that and mend that and to move and advance a just cause for our 30,000 kids. To make these changes, there are several things that we're going to need to do. We're going to need to retire some facilities. That's over the course of the next 8 to 10 years, because again, this is an 8 to 10 year plan. That's not something that happens immediately. That's a methodical process that happens over 8 to 10 years. We've got to make sure that we have to build new spaces. We have an opportunity to build modernized spaces for our kids with natural light, with mass timber, with things that actually build social, emotional, and personal health and well-being, rather than looking at 90-year-old brick, which again is beautiful. It's gorgeous. I'm all about it. The Historical Society, I would agree with them. It's beautiful. And we have an opportunity to create modern spaces for 21st century learning that actually invites social, emotional health and well-being. That's the level of granularity that we're talking about in a plan. It's not just the big themes of programs and grade configurations. It's about talking about the square footage in classrooms. It's about making sure that all of our spaces are opportunities for students to connect and get to know one another and to understand from different backgrounds and experiences. It's an environment that actually invites dialogue and invites collegiality. That's the vision that we're getting to. We're talking about grade configurations, have you already heard? Again, how many districts are willing to go down that road? How many districts are willing to say, let's completely change our grade configurations that's more data supported and research based, that eliminates transitions, right? That reduces and mitigates the number of transitions that kids go through. Because they're never going to find a grade configuration in research that says this is the right model. That research does not exist. What does exist is a strong body of research that says if you can limit transitions or mitigate them for students, specifically students on free and reduced lunch, students that are English language learners, students with IEPs, which are some of the largest percentages of our students that we serve. If you can do that for these students, you dramatically increase their opportunities for success academically, socially, emotionally, behaviorally. These are research-based opportunities for us to be brave about and to make changes. We're also looking at if we reimagine education in Des Moines Public Schools, it begins with saying, like, let's take a geographical border, which happens to be our rivers that run right through Des Moines and that intersect right down there by Principal Park, and it creates a natural landscape for 3 regions. What this does for us is, again, it symbolizes, number one, that we are talking about building a new system. We are not talking about bolting on temporary solutions to a current reality. We are talking about a reimagined new system of serving students and families and staff in Des Moines Public Schools. And it begins with a regional-based model as a platform by which we track and invest resources equitably and justly across those 3 regions. That we utilize the regions to actually consolidate and create opportunities to go deeper. As an organization that has been around again for 100 years and for the last decade has had enrollment loss that was exacerbated by the pandemic, we are short on resources and we still have 72 plus facilities. We can change all that. We can change how we're actually prioritizing our investments to put those dollars in front of children, to put those dollars into staffing. Because I'm here to tell you, we can make amazing changes in our grade configurations and our structures and our spaces. We can modernize them. The number one research-based strategy that we can do is put the most amazing teachers and staff in front of our kids. So don't mistake this. We are a facilities plan about people. This is a facilities plan that prioritizes students and staff and puts them in front of children to make those changes. We're also going to have to look at repurposing some existing buildings, right, as a part of this. There are some potential opportunities for new builds. The last new build, I think Doug mentioned it, in Des Moines was 2013, 2000, somewhere in there. 10 years ago, if you were to walk the hallways of Edmonds right now and look how different that is from schools built 80 years ago, 50 years ago, 20 years ago, you would be blown away by the difference in the space and how that actually cultivates and creates energy and synergy around learning. A space matters. People matter more, but space matters. And again, building new learning spaces. We can modernize our spaces for students that invites and provokes and invokes social, emotional, and well-being for all of our kids. This plan is not finalized. This plan goes from the large elements that we talked about tonight, the granular details that we will roll out in the weeks to come, but it also includes a prioritization around students first. It's easy to talk about facilities. It is criminal to talk about facilities in the absence of how those facilities are serving our kids today. Before I turn it over to Dr. Roberts for the last few slides, I'm going to repeat one more time words that have just resonated with me for the last several weeks, and it's Rosa Parks. There is nothing to fear if what we're doing is the right thing. To do nothing is what causes sleepless nights. To do nothing, knowing that our outcomes are not where they need to be for our children. That is criminal. Dr. Roberts.
Tremendous gratitude to you, Matt. Christopher, Kate, Victoria, Rob, Kristen, and Doug. You're probably wondering what comes next. On February 11th, at our annual State of the Schools event, it's the best ticket in town, don't miss it. Board Chair Jackie Norris and I will be on the agenda to talk about the amazing things happening in the district, share a little bit of about the vision and mission that the board has for the district. We will celebrate the work of students, and then we're going to dive deeply into the details and much more granular offerings of the Reimagine Education Plan. And as I sit here tonight, I am filled with so much joy, especially as I look out into the audience and I see the faces of our school leaders, of our teachers and our staff, and certainly our contingent from our public school strong who show up here day in and day out. We appreciate you. You know, yesterday, we celebrated one of the greatest Americans who ever lived. And as I heard Doug's sentiment about being scared and listened to Matt's expression about having sleepless nights and being tired, I'm reminded of that American who in his final moments on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who turned to his friend and musician Ben Branch, because Dr. King had been doing the kind of work that was intended to change the lives of those who have been oppressed and marginalized. See, Dr. King had been attacked, he faced vitriol, but he kept going to elevate the voices of those who are being marginalized and suppressed. But I want to share, not only with those of you who are on the committee, but to every single leader, every teacher, every staff of Des Moines Public Schools, and equally as important, board, I want to share with you, so indulge me. This endeavor that we are going to embark upon will have you feeling tired. For the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to be weary. You're going to feel like giving up. You're going to be attacked politically and personally. But I read somewhere along my journey that you should not be weary when you're doing good, or you should not be weary in well-doing. You know, because we're one day away from celebrating the birthday, one of the moments that stands out to me about Dr. King is as he stood there on the balcony and he turned to Ben Branch, and this is one day after he had just delivered one of the most memorable speeches at the Masonic Temple on April 3rd, 1968, when he talked about having been to the mountaintop. But on this day, one day later, as he stood on that balcony and he turned to Ben Branch and he said, Ben, He said, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I want you to sing my favorite song for me. And because as a superintendent and a public school official, I recognize the importance of the separation of church and state, I'm going to exercise some restraint and not break out in song. But indulge me, because I want to share with you that that song that Dr. King was his very last request that he asked Ben Branch to sing. And he said, I want you to sing it slowly and pretty for me. It's a song by the great Mahalia Jackson. The stanza in the song says, precious Lord, take my hands, lead me home. Let me stand. I'm tired, I'm weak, I'm lone. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on through the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. We are going to become really tired because the work we are getting ready to embark upon is going to change lives and disrupt the status quo. I want to encourage you to stay encouraged. Board, I want to encourage you to stay encouraged. And I'll close with another one of my favorites from Dr. King, and I want us to ask ourselves this question. And he said, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? Thank you, committee. It's go time. We have work to do. Thank you.
Matt, if you wouldn't mind just sharing for everybody a rough, after February 11th, just what people can expect, that would be great. And then I think, Patrick, you're just going to wrap up with a few comments.
You bet. Thank you so much. And really quickly before I do that, I just want to express again, on behalf of the committee, our gratitude for each of you and for the leadership that you provide and the courageous steps that you've already taken and that you are going to take as we move forward as an organization to serve our 30,000 kids. We're going to do it. So we are planning to share the granular details of the plan on February 11th. And again, we've shared pieces of the elements up to this point. Tonight is about the overview, because again, to understand the relationship between the granularity of the details, we need to have a strong grasp of the overview of the plan, which is what tonight was meant to do. So we will share granular details on February 11th, to be immediately followed up by a series of community engagements. Some will be virtual. Many of them actually will be in person throughout various locations of our district. We will be sharing those dates here soon to make sure that folks can prepare, and you're invited to be there. And again, you're invited there because we want you to be excited, because we want you to be nervous, because we want you to be scared, because we want you to be challenged and intrigued and curious, because all of those emotions and all of those thoughts are actually correct. All of them are there, and they're all present in this plan, and we need to talk about that, and we need to talk about what's going to work and what won't work and how we're going to move forward as a community.
Thanks.
Madam Chair, I just want to say both you and I were tasked with being observers of this committee, and so had the pleasure of working with and watching the work of the committee. So I'll look at the committee members who are out there today and just add our profound thanks on behalf of the board for the hours that you put in. I think I am looking forward to, and I hope my board colleagues are looking forward to, listening to the community and the feedback that we'll get. And that this is a transparent process that we're going through. This has been an inclusive process so far, and it will continue to be. And then I would ask the public, our families who are listening tonight and who are here tonight, to listen to this. This is hours and hours of work that's grounded in a lot of good research and a lot of good discussion that's already happened. That doesn't mean that there doesn't need to be more discussion. But I guess I would ask to listen and to open up your minds to the idea that this is a different way of thinking about education in Des Moines. You all have heard me say, and this is I love this fun fact, Roosevelt High School was the most expensive high school in the country when it was built. This community made an investment in education 100 years ago. It's time to make the same kind of investment, but let's look at what we have today. Let's look at who we're serving today and build the best education system that we can for the next 50 years, and make sure that the kids who we serve benefit from that. So with that, Madam Chair, just a huge thank you, and really looking forward to the rest of this work that we're doing.
Thank you. If we can give one final or another round of applause to the committee for doing this work over the last 14 months. All right. And next on the agenda, we have items of privilege. I would like to ask if our board members have anything they'd like to share.
Well, I hope all of you heard how passionately people spoke about pre-K. I also hope some of you tuned into the State of the State speech where the governor had a chance to outline her priorities. And we all know this is a process, right? She outlines her priorities and then works with the legislature to help accomplish them. I would love to ask all of you who care deeply about pre-K to communicate that. To communicate with everybody you know, with business leaders, to communicate that with just everybody. Spread the word. We are hoping to see a very specific investment that benefits pre-K, and it would fund full day pre-K. That is our DMPS legislative agenda. We have been loud and proud about it, and I would say we're not there yet. Based on what we heard, and so we need you to get a little rowdy, and so just be creative and really think about ways that you can spread the word that we at DMPS, the thing that could help us the most is fully funding all-day pre-K, especially those kiddos who are below the 185% of poverty level. So thank you for that. That's my item of privilege.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Any other board members?
I'm truly moved by what was presented to us this evening and incredibly grateful to each and every one of you who have poured what is clear your hearts and souls into reimagining what is possible for the students of Des Moines Public Schools. I'm just so honored and so, again, moved. The emotions that Matt described, I feel them all, and ultimately my heart is full, and I cannot wait to see the details, and I'm just speechless and so thank you, each of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Martirano. Ms. Knox.
Well, if you're not a morning person and don't attend the February 11th breakfast, you can catch a recap at our DMPS Foundation dinner on February 13th, where Dr. Roberts will be providing a lively sort of state of the schools recap at the dinner, and there will be cocktails there. So maybe that's how you'd like to digest the plan. There is still time for you to grab tickets. It's a wonderful fundraiser for our schools. All the dollars go directly back to our students and our teachers. So the second annual Des Moines Public Schools Foundation dinner, Thursday, February 13th at the IO Event Center in the Junior Ballroom, and go to the DMPS Foundation website to learn more. And what Dr. Roberts also missed was that myself and the fabulous Jocelyn Fitz, who's a board member as well, are featured on the podcast, or what, the fastest growing podcast or something. So check it out if you want to learn more about the foundation. There's a little dinner, but just kind of all the things we do. So tune in.
Thank you, Board Member Knox. I'll offer a comment. One thing that Matt said that stuck out to me regarding the Reimagining Education Plan was that this is a facilities plan that prioritizes people. And in the essence of prioritizing people, I want to acknowledge something that happened last week that was truly the epitome of prioritizing people. and that was the very first winter graduation ceremony of the Options Academy. So I want to give a special shout out to Amanda Dvorak, Rich Blonigan, and the rest of the village who supported this. For the public, just to bring clarity to the Options Academy, I'm on the website, so I'm reading this, but Options Academy is a program for Des Moines Public School students who need a new path to their high school diploma. Options students earn their diploma by finishing their credit requirements through self-paced classes and/or high-set exams. There were roughly 120 graduates that graduated this past weekend, or excuse me, last week, that may not have had the direction or may not have had the plan, or honestly the vision could have been unfathomed for them to graduate and to receive that diploma. So to be able to see them walk across that stage, I will say I used to have a favorite event, which was the Des Moines, or the one run within the district. But now my favorite event by far is the Options Academy graduation celebration. So if any of you are looking forward to some excitement that does not have libations, or you don't want to wake up early, they will be commencing again in the spring. So thank you. Board Member Alonso or Campos?
Yes, thank you. Goodness, I needed something extraordinary tonight, and I got that. Thank you to the Reimagining Education Committee for all your work. Truly inspirational, and I think that we are in the process of undergoing a very transformative learning experience, something that will change truly the outcome of everything that we do. And I am excited. I'm excited to see how this will develop. Thank you for all your work. Again, I needed, I think, just hope. Yesterday and today were very difficult days for a lot of families. It was a difficult day. It's been a couple of difficult days for me, and this really changes just the way I see things. And so thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for all of the work that you did.
Thank you, Board Member Alonso.
Okay, my turn, Skylar. You took a piece of what I was going to say, but I also want to thank the success workers, the staff, the parents, the community members, even the students at Options Academy. I was there able to give diplomas out, and I had the pleasure to give the diploma to my niece. And that was just, it was just as a parent, as a aunt, if I was in the audience and I seen all that connections and all those people that were supporting my family member, it's a great program, and the community got together and gave these kids a graduation that they deserve. So my hat off to everybody at Options and our success workers that helped out, the counselors. It's a really great program.
Thank you, Board Member Campos. All right. I will now turn it over to the superintendent for the superintendent's report. Dr. Roberts.
Thank you, Dr. Mayberry Mays. For my report this evening, certainly want it to be anchored in some brevity because you want to venture out into the 70-degree weather and get home safely. But I want to double down on what the committee shared, and that is in terms of next steps. In the coming weeks, the district, we are going to share very specific details at the February 11th State of the Schools address, including what schools in each of the 3 regions will lead the work ahead in this multi-phase endeavor. After that, DMPS will get feedback from students, staff, families, and the community about how to truly implement this plan. Your voice and your voices are critical in this process. We don't want to miss that opportunity. The public will then get a chance to weigh in on the refined proposal And the committee will use all of the input from each of you to bring forth a final recommendation to the board. Much of this will happen in a rather aggressive timeline. As we continue to refine our practices, reinvigorate the energy in every adult who is a part of the work, and then ultimately reimagine education. Dr. Mayberry Meza concludes my remarks.
All right, thank you. I'll take a final moment of privilege and say thank you to Chair Norris for allowing me to step in and preside over the meeting today. Clearly, she is doing something. She'll be back next meeting. But
I'm still writing with my left hand.
she is writing
so
with
I
her
think
left hand. All right. Well, thank you for joining us this evening. We greatly appreciate you all. And this meeting is adjourned at 7:16 p.m.
Thank you.